It's been a while. Whatever. I don't want to talk about that. I asked my friends literally 2.5 months ago for some questions about myself that I could answer because I thought it would be fun. And then I got well, then Christmas happened, and I just didn't fit it in before that, and then I got real depressed, and we're also not going to talk about that, but we're going to do questions. So the first question is from Justine, and it's that she asked if I've ever been to Maine and if I think there are border or similarities across the border between Canada and the United States. And I've never been across that border. I've been to Michigan, and my parents, when I was growing up, owned a fishing lodge, which attracted a lot of Michiganders and people from Indiana and Wisconsin, and like Uh, the American hillbillies were exactly like us. They probably the gun thing is a little bit different, but like, oh man, hillbilly's a hillbilly. Not in the, I guess not in the American sense of the word, but no, like it's especially the people from northern Michigan. Man, there's not an appreciable difference. I do not know down in the New England direction or even like Windsor, Detroit, because I just don't have the experience. But the stuff that Northern Ontario borders, it's like, yeah, we're all just people who kind of just like to be left alone in the bush. Ivy asks if I have a favorite type of rock or mineral or whatever, and I like again, kind of because of where I'm from, which is smack dab in the middle in northern Ontario. I like granites, or things with a very granite-like composition. Like if you have a gneiss that is just pink with nice dark bands in it, that's beautiful. And then if you take the metamorphism a level farther and you start getting waves in the bands. Oh, and if you go as far as the migmatite, and then there's just these sections of crystalline pink granite within the rest of the granitic gneiss complex. It's fantastic, and it's your lucky day, because if you are ever traveling north or south, ever traveling between Barrie, Ontario, and Parry Sound, Ontario, in the Parry Sound area on Highway 400/69, you're gonna see just like textbooks examples of these. It's the outcrops there are just, oh, they're beautiful. You can't beat them. And if you can, I want to know about it because I would like to visit them. Topper asks, why is Ontario? And someone's got to be it, I guess. In any, I mean, the capital city is that way in Ontario, at least, and I everywhere I know of, the capital city is just kind of that way. So the I know Ontario is not the capital province, and that's not really how it works. And also, we kind of hate Ottawa. It doesn't really work that way, but it kind of does, and I think that's what's going on. I think that if you're in New York State, you fucking hate New York, and if you're in Quebec, well, I mean, you probably don't like Quebec City for political reasons. Hi, Thomason. But you probably also don't like Montreal because it's and I've heard friends in BC. Oh, and Alberta. Oh man, do they hate everything? So yeah, I think that's why is Ontario. It's just because someone's got to be, and we can take it. And by that I mean take it from us, please. Laurel asks why I love geese and why they shouldn't be scary. And honestly, they should be scary, and you should give them their space, and especially when they're nesting, because just like evolutionarily, it makes sense. It makes sense for them to risk a lot, especially because like large predators don't really know what to do if something smaller than them attacks. It's like, have you ever seen those videos of house cats scaring away bears? It's not that like the bear probably knows it could take the cat. It's just in the moment it's so shocked by like, why is this pipsqueak doing this? Like, what do I not know? And then this is actually the specific strategy of the smaller animal is in a fair fight, I'm fucked. So I'm just gonna go all out and hope that this like insane plan works. Because the 1 in 10 times, or the 1 in whatever times it works, you survive, and otherwise you don't. So you should be afraid of geese, or at least give them their space. And honestly, that you have to give geese their space is a huge part of why I adore them so. It's at the at university in Waterloo, Ontario. Just watching the geese like menace young children was always fun, but watching them menace the first year students on campus who just didn't understand that this planter box now belonged for a couple weeks to a large angry bird, and like if the fastest way to your class was by it, like, no, the fastest way to your class is now through a building or something. And it was just great. Watching people learn that lesson every time. And then they really loved to nest in the planter boxes outside of the physical activity center, like the big gymnasium where you wrote. I didn't write a lot of exams because my class had 12 people in it, but where a lot of people write most of their exams. And it's like, oh yeah, you can only get to the exam building through this one door, and you got to make a wide berth around the planter boxes around it because it's like the geese have taken over. It's just beautiful. And then like it all. Damn cat. It all started when I was young at that fishing lodge. One like particularly magnificent looking in my memory. It's the most magnificent goose that ever lived. Stayed late one year. Like we kind of shut down towards the end of August. When the Americans went back to school, kinda, and you might have like partially run it. We didn't run it as a hunting lodge, so like when bear and moose season came in September and October, we weren't running it for that. We were just running it based on the fishing season. But we would still live out there as late into the fall as we could because we were hillbillies from Northern Ontario who didn't want to be around people except ourselves. And like there's no place in the world like it to me. But this one goose got left behind by its flock, and it was just hanging out in our bay. And as I said, it was the most beautiful animal I've ever seen in my life. And we talked about getting a tag for it and hunting it, because it would have been an easy shot, and like we would have done it for Thanksgiving, which in Canada is in early October, so that kind of works out. In my memory, it flew away. In fact, maybe that was never the plan, and I'm not sure. But I might have been 5, somewhere in the 5 to 7, I think. No. Anyways, I was young, and like this bird just made a huge impression on me, and like it wouldn't be until a couple years later where a heron, like just another magnificent great blue heron, made a similar impact on me. Like it's weird that moose didn't, because it's an enormous and majestic animal, but like I guess like I just saw more moose, and saying that I didn't see a lot of geese is a wild statement now in 2024 when there are thousands of them in every fucking park. But I maybe saw a couple dozen geese before I adulthood. Like they just, their recovery has been massive and recent. Micah asks me to describe all of my cats. That's a lot. I'm gonna go through just the important ones because we had 9 cats growing up, and like some of those were kittens that we gave away, and the important ones are the 3 that my brothers and I all adopted, and that was Cutie, Whiskers, and Muffin, who was mine. Cutie was a very beautiful calico cat, and objectively the best cat of them, like just in terms of what you'd want from a cat. Like, she was friendly, she had the softest, nicest fur, she actually bathed herself, no tufts, no not a lot of vomiting, like just best personality. Thomason is a very similar cat, and like that's part of why I adore her so. Whiskers and Muffin were they were all barn cats, and they were all huge. Like, Whiskers was probably 20 pounds, and not like, he was fat, but not like enormous. Like, Muffin was about 16 or 17, and they were white cats. They were, again, they're huge, and they were very friendly. But like, they had long hair. Muffin especially was bad about grooming it, so there was just a lot of tufts, and like, I know that you really need to be brushing a long hair cat every day or two, but like 8-year-old James definitely didn't know that. So those were the 3 important cats growing up, and like, Muffin had the softest fur on a cat I've ever felt, or tied with one of my brother's cats who has the exact same personality. It is weird, except she's a fluffy black cat, so they're like mirror images of each other, but the same cat. It's very strange. But between when I moved away to university and when I got Thomason 5 years ago, I didn't have animals. But I'm gonna mention one other of the cats that he was either called MJ or Rolly, depending on who you ask. I like, at this point in my life, I like Rolly more. He was a tuxedo cat. He was a sausage, and he was the worst cat because he was just so dumb, but clever about it. Like, he would get into the garbage. He would just like look at you and pull down one potted plant after another because he wanted to eat. Like, feeding time wasn't until like for another half hour, but he wanted to eat then. And like, he's just a nightmare of a cat. If he was the only cat, if he was the only cat, you could probably give him enough attention that he wouldn't have acted out. But like, he was just a nightmare in the 5-cat household we had at that point. Micah also asks why baby animals throw themselves at me, and I would love to say that it is something to do with my like magnetic personality or how trustworthy I seem, but it's kind of just that I live in a rural setting where in baby season there's no population because the summer population hasn't really showed up yet, so the raccoons have free run of the area, and due to poor maintenance of the building I live in, they lived in the rafters, so once they got rambunctious and silly, they would just fall out at my doorstep, and then I would have to babysit. And then the background that I should have started this with is that for 3 years in a row, I had to babysit some baby raccoons that fell out of my rafters. And one other time, I rescued some baby birds that we thought were robins, that were really starlings, and probably shouldn't have wasted the rescuer's time with starlings. But we had somebody who knows more than me had said, oh yeah, I think those might be robins, and like, there were a lot of robins nesting in my yard. So Laura, who was a coworker at Target in Kitchener with me, asks where all my Target stuff went. I still have it all, and I actually probably only threw out my name tag after the surgery failed, and I really started throwing stuff out. So I lost that job like 8 years ago, and I just threw out the thing. But I have 3 Target dogs, and honestly, my Target associates. Anyone want a Target dog? Laura asks for a cat video. I will be recording more of my cat, but I also know that she appeared on the bed a bit ago, so kind of did it here. But I have plans to get to restock my feeders now that it's kind of spring weather, and we're getting I know it's really early still, but that we're going to start getting songbirds, so I'm going to attract them to the window, and then I'm going to... Thomas is an indoor cat. I'm not doing bad things to the birds, but then we can watch her be silly and attack the window. Ryan asks in French, what is a James? And I think we've kind of answered that a little bit. I don't know where to go with that, though. And that is it for the questions I have right now. So if you comment some more questions, I can do this again, because I may have put it off for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, but I did genuinely enjoy doing it, and I do genuinely want to record more stuff and stories and things. So thank you very much for your time. You've all been wonderful. I will see you next time.